Hello and welcome back to the X-Files Revisited. We are on to Season 4, Episode 17. This one is Tempus Fugit. Brian, tell us a little about the legacy of this one.
This is, like I said last week, it sits in that bizarre camp, a bit like Red Museum, where it's kind of a mythology episode. Like there are things that happen. It's a two-parter, so there are things that happen throughout this two-parter that are big moments for fans. And yet, if you remove this two-parter altogether, I don't think anybody would necessarily notice. There'd be a particular character that won't be returning, possibly. But, like, if that character never turned up again anyway, you wouldn't really think anything of it because they're not that integral to the show. So it's a weird one. It's a mythology episode, but it's not an integral mythology episode.
Okay. So are we going to do our guessing game then?
Yes. Let's. So 217 episodes. Where do you think this sits?
See, this is a tough one because, like you say, it is mythology and apparently not really part of it either. So I am going to carefully place this at 64.
Oh, swap those numbers around.
Oh, 46.
46, yeah. 46 of 217.
Right.
Yeah.
Still high.
Yeah, still pretty high. I think it's one that fans do like quite a lot. In no small part thanks to the fact that it does bring back a season 1 favourite in Max Fennig, which quite possibly would have done them some favours if they'd have brought him back sooner, maybe. Yeah,
absolutely. He'd have been a nice reoccurring character, almost, like once a season.
Yes. Yeah. I think they had Max Fennig, and then they kind of did the Lone Gunmen, and they realised that actually we've got the Lone Gunmen now. We'll stick with them. We don't need to bring Max Fennig back. So, yeah, but yeah, he would have made a great fourth Lone Gunman. Right. Okay, we'll get into it then.
Yeah.
So Max Fennig, as I've just said, returns to the show. He's on a flight with a hitman that has a plastic gun. And this hitman comes. It looks like he's about to assassinate Max Fennig, but suddenly an abduction occurs. Fennig goes into his epileptic seizures, which he does when he's about to get abducted, and a UFO kind of just seems to arrive, and white light goes everywhere, and we cut to opening credits. So how does that grab you as an intriguing opening?
I think it's a fantastic opening. I really like it because you have that reoccurring character of Max at the start. You get the query of the strange pustule growths on his face. You get the plastic gun, which is cool, and then the alien abduction. Now, all of this is great and could be done anywhere pretty much. But the fact that it's on a plane, mid-air flight, just makes it all that more exciting and dramatic. I think I just love the idea of that. And I mean, it's not something you ever see or hear of, an abduction mid-flight.
Yeah.
And I think
it's an inspired idea.
It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was terrific.
Excellent. Okay, so we get past the opening credits, and it's Scully's birthday. Either Mulder or Scully Mulder presumably makes a joke about dog years, which is quite amusing, and he gives her a gift of an Apollo 11 keychain. It's just like the lamest, crappiest gift anyone could give you. She's like, thanks Mulder, 4 years of working together and I get a keychain. Cheers.
But the thoughts there,
Nothing says I love you like an Apollo 11 keychain.
That's what I always use. But it's just that I like the part where they're bringing out the worst looking birthday cake ever, which is just a kind of blob. And that just look of embarrassment that she has for a small moment of just like I need to sit and go through this because this is what people do, but I'm not enjoying it. I don't want it. It's just a fun kind of sequence, yeah.
And Mulder's enjoying every single minute of it.
Yeah, he's loving it.
So during the festivities, a woman called Sharon Grappier introduces herself to Mulder and Scully as Max's sister. She arrives to tell them that Max's plane went down. So yeah, heaven forbid that there should be a moment of kind of happy celebration between our agents before it is cut short with some tragic news.
Yeah.
So
with actually like with Mulder getting a present instead, this juicy case falling into his lap. This is amazing for him.
So we go to a crash site team briefing where Mulder and Scully arrive. Mulder asks about the evidence of the plane being forced down before telling the room about alien abductee Max Fennig. The lead member of this crash site team is not impressed at all.
And what I absolutely love about this sequence is Scully. This is exactly the same Scully as she was when she was getting the cake. She's not interested. She knows this is just going to happen because this is Mulder. She's embarrassed and she just can't wait to get it over with. But she's accepting of the fact that this is just how Mulder is going to be. And I love the fact that Mulder's just like letting his crazy out on show.
Yes.
Like, excuse me, everyone, attention, aliens.
He just does not care at all. And this isn't even the typical FBI guys that he has to deal with. No. Like, if it was an FBI briefing room, he knows that they know. So he'd just be of the mind that screw it, just to mess with them at that point. But here, this is a room full of people he doesn't know. He knows he's going to come off as a total crackpot. And yet he just does not care.
And he's probably making his job harder.
Oh, yeah, big time.
To be foolish. Just
Yeah. In front of everyone. It's not like he takes the lead guy to one side and says, I specialise in these weird cases. Just hear me out a minute. Hear me out. No, he gets the whole room. And he goes, yo, dude, aliens.
Yeah. It's awesome. It really is.
Man. And like you say, Scully's look just shows that this is her life now.
Yeah.
Wherever she is, whatever the situation, her life basically involves embarrassment at the hands of her partner. Yep. So, yeah. So they go to the crash site, where it is absolute devastation. There's a man there who is destroying evidence, and Mulder thinks that 9 minutes were lost and that Max was abducted mid-flight. Obviously, we get the reintroduction of the 9 minutes thing, which I can't remember the last time we had it, but certainly it was kind of introduced right from the beginning in the pilot episode. Yeah. So so
tell you what I was marvelled by. You know how they find the assassin and they use that spray to burn off his fingers.
Yeah.
What a great little moment. Like, you never think about that kind of thing. But obviously these people have.
Yeah.
Which I really liked.
This is a great episode about details, I think, because obviously when you look at a crash site and you have a team that have to determine what caused a crash, you look at that devastation And this is a team that literally, they have to piece that plane back together as best they can. They have to look at the real fine details in order to work out what went wrong. And I feel like, there's lots of little things in this episode that are just, again, like the very fact that we're having an abduction mid-flight, the fact that we've got a hitman smuggling a gun on board. How does he do that? Well, it's a plastic gun. It's made up of various different parts out of plastic, so you would never guess. So that's kind of freaky right there for a start. How do you cover up something like this? You know, you got a body there, you bring a little spray thing of acid that burns away the print. It's just loads of little things like that where you're just like, man, they were on real creative duty during this episode. Some real good, like, 70s kind of Manchurian Candidate, All the President's Men type of vibes coming off it in many ways. So anyway, there is a man amongst the wreckage who is found alive, which is staggering to say the least.
It is fantastic, Brian. Because this is the guy at the start who's saying, like, you know, you're more likely to, like, die elsewhere than in a plane crash, blah, blah, blah. And then he survived.
It does happen, though. It does happen.
Again, it's like you said, it's like that silly little detail. He's talking about surviving these kind of things, and then he's the only survivor later on. It's just, it's funny.
Yeah. So Max's sister lands, bringing all of Max's letters. Scully wants to know what he was carrying on the plane, as the man they found alive had severe radiation burns. Very much like the people who came into contact with the black oil and all that kind of gubbins. So,
and again, I kind of giggled a little bit at this sequence because this woman gets off the plane with box files of information. She's like, well, you told me to bring everything. And then Scully's still like, if you don't tell us anything, you're in trouble. Like, this woman's clearly brought everything with her.
Scully's on a lazy day. She's like, I am not reading that. I am not trawling through. You tell me the juicy bits, because I ain't trawling through all that crap. I'm telling you. Okay. So Scully tells Mulder that Max may have been carrying stolen uranium under the alias Paul Gidney. Mulder says aliens. Scully says they found Max's body. Mulder says still no explanation for crash, despite the fact that Scully just gave him one. Is that it? Did you listen to a word she just said? It's like he's got connections to an installation that deals with uranium. The people on the plane were suffering from the kind of burns you would get from exposure to uranium. Scully's just explained that, and yet Mulder just seems to have bypassed that and said there's still no explanation for the crash. Well, there kind of is, because if everybody's been exposed to this uranium and got seriously sick during the flight, then there's your explanation right there. Surely.
But that's Mulder and his tunnel vision.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We've seen it before, lots of times before. Don't bring rationale into this argument.
It's like, Scully, I've already said to a room full of people it's aliens. I can't go back now.
Don't bring your facts. I have feelings.
Okay, so Max's sister is at her hotel room when she is abducted. So Mulder sees Max, finds his card, finds his own card on Max's body, and checks Max's watch. Then starts checking other bodies, clearly looking for that 9 minutes of lost time. So, it's bittersweet to say the least, because obviously Max was a fan favourite from season 1. A lot of fans really liked the character. He's back. We see that he's back. You know, he's abducted mid-flight. You kind of, well, I don't know about you, but when I first saw this, I expected that, oh, well, they've brought Max Fennig back, so this is going to be a big storyline. So clearly he was abducted and then the plane went down. But no, he's there. He's on the plane. So right there, you know, you got the intrigue of that opening of the abduction, but now you've got the intrigue of, oh, he was returned, or he never left the plane, or so what happened? So right there, you're just like suddenly filled with tons of questions.
Yeah, and even watching it, I'm like, that's not him. It can't be him. There's more to come here. He's going to appear back or something. Like it just feels wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. So Scully tells Mulder they're going to put the crash down to complete systems failure. Mulder says they are ignorant of the facts because someone has been cleaning up the evidence, i.e. none of the bodies have watches. So, yeah. There's a conspiracy afoot. Mulder and Scully speak to an army guy who saw the plane on his radar just before it crashed. So this is where the plot truly starts to thicken, because you now have witnesses now.
This is Lewis Frisch, isn't it?
Yes, Frisch. And it's so you get like Mulder and Scully kind of get his testimony. It sounds pretty legit. The guy seems fairly on the level, because he seems quite shook up about what he saw. Talks about how you see these dots on the radar, and all of a sudden it becomes very clear that, oh, hundreds of people have just lost their lives. That was just a dot on my screen, and I'm just so you see that it's kind of getting to him. But then when Mulder and Scully leave, Frisch is joined by another soldier. They have a conversation that clearly indicates they are covering something up. So
yeah, and I think this is pretty good, because I just initially believed the guy. You know, his kind of story was sound enough, and he seemed willing to share. He didn't seem like he was hiding anything. And then his co-worker comes out, and it's like dun dun dun. Fantastic.
So Mulder and Scully arrive at Sharon's hotel to find it trashed. The head of the crash site team shows up with evidence that the door was ripped off its hinges. I'm not quite sure why he's there, to be honest, other than the fact that it saves time to do a whole different scene and presumably money.
Extremely weird that he's turned up at what seems to be a vandalized hotel room.
Yeah. Like I get why Mulder and Scully are there, because they're in contact with this woman. Yeah, but this guy isn't.
Well, so the hotel manager does mention that it was booked under their name, unless he thinks that's where they are staying.
Right.
I suppose we could connect those dots.
I don't know. It's a minor quibble. I'm sure somebody could give us a reason as to why he's there, but you can assume he's got information he wants to give Mulder and Scully, and he's tracked them down for somehow. And like I say, that information is that, and this is quite hard for him to kind of give over, because this is clearly a very rational man. This is a man who deals in facts, but he's also a man who isn't the kind to ignore facts. He isn't the kind of man to bend facts to suit the story he wants. He's willing to let the facts speak for themselves. That's the sense you get from this guy, and because of that, he comes to Mulder and Scully, and he's like, I never really seen this before, and I can't quite explain it, but I would say the doors were ripped off their hinges.
Yeah.
I don't know where to go with that. So, yeah. But it does kind of, it makes you trust this guy. It puts you,
Yes. Yeah.
yeah, puts you on his side, and you get the sense that he's more of an ally now than he is a hindrance. So Frisch finds Gonzalez with a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head.
See, this is the thing, Brian. Like, I watching this sequence, I wasn't sure. Like, it's clear as soon as Frisch walks in the room that guy's dead. You just know it's that way. But did he do it himself? Because he doesn't seem that overly worried or suicidal in the previous sequence. But then also, would somebody kill him and then leave and then come back to kill the other guy?
That's the thing, isn't it? Because he rocks up, there's no one there, but his partner's dead. But I feel like it's one of those situations where they were going to turn up and maybe try and pin it on Frisch,
Right.
or have Frisch be a scapegoat. Like if you've got two of these guys, like what I'm saying is I'm not sure they were intending to kill Frisch so much as, well, we've killed one of them, so the two of them can't join up and testify. We've only got the testimony of one man, and one man is easier to scapegoat than two men.
Yeah.
So,
But there's also that moment after Scully and Mulder leave where the little guy says, you know, like, I'm not going to lie, almost. You know, he's like... So
yeah, but...
You know, he's kind of like the weak link in that chain as well.
Well, he says that, but if anything, he's a strong link in the sense that this is clearly a guy who has wrestled with this, and he said, I'm going to tell the truth. Like, he's told, like, Frisch is the one who's caved. He's caved to government pressure.
Yeah.
He's telling lies, the lies that he's been told to tell. Whereas this guy said, if they come back, I'm telling the truth. I can't.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it could go either way. I think any argument either way, whether this guy killed himself or whether it was done as some kind of cover up. And I think that's the intrigue, isn't it? We don't always need an answer.
Although, I mean, he was quite clearly dead as soon as he enters.
Yeah. Okay.
You
So,
do get that
yeah.
wonderful sequence with the hit team arriving, and
Yes.
he's hiding on the roof,
Yeah.
which is it's like a nice little. I like that.
Yeah. It's just, my thing is like, would they have killed him or would they have arrested him? And that's the key, I think. So Mulder listens to the flight recorder. He calls Scully to come over and check something. Frisch grabs Scully as she's going over and tells her he caused the crash.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the plot just keeps on thickening. It's so
does
thick,
indeed.
it's sludgy.
I like this because you're instantly like you could almost tell this is where like adverts would go. Do you know what I mean? Like when it was on TV, if it was like on one of those channels, it would be like that, and then leave you hanging for like a few minutes, because it almost feels like that when you're rewatching it.
Big time. So Mulder and Scully take Frisch to the crash site leader. He tells them he was ordered to lie about what he saw. A second aircraft on his radar that shot down the original aircraft, the civilian aircraft. The leader says no evidence. Mulder says because there was a third craft. So this is. I feel like this is one of those episodes where this sequence in particular requires multiple viewings just to kind of get your head around what's going on. I think it took me a few go-arounds of this before I quite understood what was going on. So Frisch is saying there was a second aircraft before the civilian one went down. So clearly that must have been shot down by a second aircraft. But Mulder's saying, no, there was a third aircraft using stealth technology. And his theory, obviously, is that aircraft shot down the UFO, which was in mid-abduction mode with the plane. So when it shot down the UFO, down went the plane. Which is extremely convoluted, but really cool.
It is, and you've got to wonder how he gets there. Now, ultimately, we know he's right, because later on, but at this time you're like, how? Just how? Have you been grasping at straws and just luckily pulled one out the air?
Out of his ass, my it's a theory at this point, but it's a clever theory. Obviously Mulder's he's looking at the stuff that they've got and he's thinking, well, the UFO would surely have done this before. It'd know what it's doing, or it wouldn't attempt to do this if it couldn't do it. So why did the plane go down? And so if another plane came and shot the UFO down, then that means, there must be a second crash site. So that's basically what they decide to do. Is they're going to split up and look for this second crash site. But before that, there's a car chase. Because you know what, we got 5 minutes to bump the episode up with, and we need to.
And it really does feel like it's just there for the sake of being here. And it's kind of cool, but it adds nothing to the story whatsoever.
It doesn't. It's just, and usually I'm not very forgiving of these kind of scenes when they put scenes in there that are there just for the sake of bumping up screen time. But because it is so well shot and it is so well paced and it's kind of thrilling. You got the plane coming down and they're trying to escape it. I'm kind of like, this scene don't need to be here, but I'm really enjoying it. So what the hell? It tells
bonus points because we don't need to take notes during this sequence.
Yeah, we really don't. I just put car chase. That's my note. It just says car chase.
I went a little bit further. I've got car chase, plane lands. So,
yeah, but it's fun anyway, so it's all good. So the team leader goes to the 542 crash site, the civilian crash site. I'm not quite sure why he's gone there, because they're looking for evidence of a second crash site.
Yeah.
But I guess he's looking for evidence that he could attribute to the plane having been shot down or something, or shrapnel from another aircraft of some description. So yeah,
it doesn't stand out as being out of place or wrong.
No. It just there is that fleeting moment where I go, so why has he gone to that one? So you do kind of have to ask yourself that, and like I say, if you think about it, there is an answer. So I don't have any trouble with it in that regard. But anyway, while he's there, he sees a UFO before finding Sharon, who has obviously been returned. Yeah.
And I always find these sequences where you actually see a UFO pretty jarring, because it's always smoke and mirrors, and then they'll just show you something and you're like, well, holy crap.
Yeah. Shouldn't that be covered up over some kind of tarp so you can't quite see what the shape of the thing is?
Or on CCTV where there's like fuzzy lines.
Yeah. So Mulder asks Frisch if it's possible that the second crash site is at a lake and not on land, and Frisch says, yeah, it's possible. Sure, why not? Anything's possible. So Mulder
does he get to that thought through anything? Because I think I maybe missed something.
They're looking at a map, aren't they? So he's looking at a map over where the plane went down, and he sees that like beside it is a lake. So if one aircraft shot off that way, and the blast kicked the the other aircraft that way. So, so Mulder meets a man at the lake who tells him some kind of search and rescue has been going on out there. So, dead giveaway.
Yeah.
Scully picks some stuff up from her apartment, offers some words of support for Private Lewis, who is feeling guilty, and then he asks if he can use the phone to phone his girlfriend, which is not a good idea. Come on, Scully.
And she allows it?
She says, just tell her you're safe. Tell her not. That doesn't matter. This is like conspiracy movie 101. You never let someone who is on the run use the phone because you know it's getting traced. You know some detail is getting used. And Scully, you're an FBI agent. You, of all people, should know this.
You're the voice of reason.
I know, yeah.
Protocol.
Flipping heck. All right. So, Mulder goes scuba diving. Woohoo! Yep. Putting on the sexy scuba diving gear. And then we get to a rather sad moment in X-Files history. It's got to be said. Scully and Lewis are at a bar. They're trying to lay low, but in a crowded place. Because no one's going to attack them in a crowded place.
Yeah.
Except they do. Mustachioed hitman turns up, takes a shot at Frisch and Scully, but poor old Agent Pendrell gets in the way and takes a bullet.
A couple of things about this sequence, Brian.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, like, Pendrell's drunk and he's like, hey, birthday girl, and for the briefest moment I thought this was all supposed to take place on the one night where she'd literally had her birthday, gone done something and came back there just because he said birthday girl. It took me a second just to look just he's kind of upset because she's there with another man. Yeah, like, I know he gets shot, but I'm taking from your comments that he doesn't survive. Because
I'm just saying it's sad that he got shot. It's Agent Pendrell. Nobody wants to see Agent Pendrell get shot.
Yeah, but it gives him a cool scar to show the ladies and stuff like that.
Exactly.
I'm thinking he's going to be back in the next episode, Brian.
As a badass, yeah. As a badass.
Like, loose lips, sink ships.
No, he's coming back with a vengeance. He's got to repay some damage. Seriously. So anyway, Mulder finds an alien. Again, on his own, with no one else around.
This is the thing, right? And I think this is like the most like ludicrous kind of moments. I don't know why I pick in these things, but he's swimming down there. He's expecting to find an alien. He finds a wreckage. He finds an alien and then is startled. Look, that's the reason you went down there. Like,
I don't think he's startled in the sense that it's like I think he's startled because he's just wet himself at the prospect of like, yes, I found an alien. It's like my evidence. He's just thinking he wants to get that bad boy up there as soon as possible. But there's lights above. Yeah. Shock horror.
Yeah, and it's one of those ones where it's like, is it government lights? Is it alien lights? 100% government. There's no doubt at all in my mind whatsoever. And that's kind of the end of the episode, isn't it?
I love how these government people have been doing this search and rescue for the past few days or however long it was, and yet none of them are down there. None of them, and yet Mulder's found it. So like, is it
it's
that Mulder?
Secure. There's no
There's no security there. Like, has Mulder found it before them? Have they only just found it now after all this time? In which case, Mulder seriously needs to be on their team. So there's a bit of confusion there as to like, well, what did they wait for him to go down there? Did they just not find it? Were they up there having a break? Why was the alien body still down there when it's been a few days? There's a lot of questions there, but it's kind of one of them situations where you just got to kind of let it go and just, whatever.
Yeah.
But wrap up and score.
I liked this episode. I found it gave a lot of answers to the questions while still giving you more questions. Kept you guessing, but you never felt shortchanged at any point. I thought it was great to get Max back, but I was really kind of disappointed in the way he was dispatched. I really felt it was going to be more of him. I'm still expecting him to come back from the dead, Brian. I don't know why. I just have that feeling. I like in a story element the fact of the sister. I disliked the fact that now Max has disappeared. They're just going to pick on her now. After all these years, just like, we can't get one, we'll take another Fennec, just for the sake of it, which I kind of enjoyed. I feel as if Scully is almost sidelined a little bit. It's not, and when she does appear, she's not her usual self. Not all the time, but in certain moments, she's just almost put in the back seat a little.
I would certainly agree that this is a more personal episode for Mulder than it is for Scully, and I think that's understandable given the identification Mulder has with Max Fennec. But I do think Scully is quite vital in this one, in the sense that she's the one who's kind of offered up theories, like particularly towards the start of the episode. She offered up valid theories as to what they could be looking for besides aliens. Like, the whole, like, she's the one who makes the connection between Max and the uranium and what he could have been carrying. So I think she gets,
even when she makes that connection, she's still like shot down in flames by Mulder.
Yeah, but that's Mulder through and through.
He just ignores her.
Yeah, but we expect that. We expect that.
Expect a quip or a smart comment or something just to, like, knock her down a little.
I think the tradition is, I think any X-Files episode, any good X-Files episode, you get Mulder's theory, which is obviously the one we're going to accept because we know that it's an X-File. But you also get a theory from Scully, which allows people to go, see, now I can see why, if this was an X-File, like Mulder's saying, I can see why it wouldn't get seen, why it wouldn't get investigated as an X-File. And like the best ones do that, and Scully does that here. She offers a theory that makes me go, yep, if I was on that team investigating that, that would be what I would. That's it. There's your answer right there. So, yeah.
Other than that, I kind of like everything about it. But there's the thing with the two episodes, the double hander, is I'm always worried about the second episode because I've been there where they've been really strong, and I've been there when they've let the episode down. And this episode's score would generally be dependent on how they conclude it, if you know what I mean.
I do, yeah. So let's just say, for argument's sake, that the second part is as good, if not better, than the first part. If that's the case, what would you give this? If this,
I think I'm going to go 4.5.
Okay.
But close to a 5. Some niggles, but nothing major. But if the second half goes gangbusters, it could drag it up.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I do think that the fact that I know the second part, I've watched it multiple times, I personally find it to be a very satisfying conclusion to the story. I personally think that this two-parter, for my money, should have been the first X-Files movie.
Right.
Because it's not tied so tightly to the mythology that it would alienate new fans. But there's enough in there mythology wise to reward fans. And I think if you threw more money at it so that you can see certain things that perhaps you don't get to see because of budgetary constraints, things like that, then I think you've got an absolutely fantastic cinema release X-Files movie in this two-parter. If they'd have released this as a movie after season 4 and then did Fight the Future after season 5, I think that would have just been like awesome. But it's not. It's a 2-part episode, and I'm hoping you're gonna like it. I do. I think the second part is satisfying enough for me, but we'll see. For me, I'm going to go with a 5 for this episode. Okay. I know I called it out on a few niggles. There's scenes there that they're just there for the sake of it. There's scenes there that raise questions about the sense of people doing certain jobs. But there's so much intrigue and nice little character moments. You know, the stuff with the key ring, the stuff with Pendrell. As a fan of that character, it was nice seeing him and being all drunk and stuff. And it's just, a lot of personal touches in it. I like the details. I like the characters that we've got for this story. You know, the guy who's leading the team, the hitman with a moustache who's a bit dodgy. I really enjoy it. And Frisch as well. He's an interesting character. So I'm giving it a 5. 5 out of 5 for me.
Don't you find that all the government agents are almost like characters from Guess Who? You know, this one in particular looks like he's stepped out of like an 80s Tom Selleck kind of. Yeah. It's just like he does look like a picture on a game of Guess Who. It's like they all look like dads from the 80s. Like they're just weird. Anyway, I know you've kind of touched on it anyway, but what about the legacy of episode 18 Max? Can you tell us a little about it?
I can't, because I don't want to give anything away. As much, just repeat what I said for this one, really. Again, like I say, it's you take it out, people wouldn't notice. Like it wouldn't change the overall story or mythology of the show. But I'm glad that it's there because it's such a great, compact, kind of self-contained 2-part story. Which, like I say, operates like a test run for a feature film, really.
Yeah. Well, my expectations personally are that Max comes back from the dead and Agent Pendrell hunts down the man that shot him and brutally murders him. So we'll see if I am 100% correct, which I assume I am, because I can't remember the second episode, so we'll just guess there. And join us for the thrilling conclusion of this 2-part episode. Same bat channel, same bat time. Thanks for watching, and we will see you next time on the X-Files Revisited.
Bye.